Hey, welcome to Steph's World, the world according to Steph. Let's see, which number is this? 7. And you might say, no, Steph, it's 6, it's 6. No, it's not. I did a 6. And I did it so long that I didn't even realize it was well over an hour. Impossible for me. That was so long that even for me, that was too long. So now I made a decision that I would just put that one aside and let it go. And you know what? I think it was a good decision because I don't think the subject matter, I don't think you guys are ready for it. I really don't. I'm not putting you down. I'm just saying it was intense. And it was about me. And it was stuff about me that let's not get into. Not right now. I'm going to get into some really cool stuff today. Dreams. I had a dream. I've had a bunch of dreams. And over the last 40 years, I have made most of my dreams come true. I know, it's amazing, isn't it? Only I say I've made them come true. I'm leaving something out, okay? Whether you like it or not, there is a higher power. I'm sorry, but I feel there is, okay? And I don't care what you call your higher power, your God, whatever, there is one. And one of these videos that I do, I'm going to tell you some things that you're not going to believe. You're not going to believe, but I don't care. Because they are the truth, and you should know by now that Steph isn't going to lie to you. In fact, that's why this is 7 and not 6, because I was too truthful. So truthful that you probably would never want to see my stuff again. Too honest. Sometimes I think people can be that way, and it's like we call it too much information, TMI. Yeah. But dreams. Yeah, let's talk about dreams. You know, some people would say to me, well, you're getting older, aren't you? How can you have those kind of dreams? Why can't I have those kind of dreams? Who says there's an age limit on dreaming? Did someone put an age limit on dreaming? My dad did. My father was not excited about my new dream at all. But that's my dad. Mr. Irishman. Oh, yes. The Native American part is my mother. And trust me, my mother would be excited to no end for me to do this. She would be jumping for joy if she truly could remember, because she has Alzheimer's. And yes, I could tell her all about it, but in 5 minutes she would forget every bit of it. That's Alzheimer's. Now, I'm not going to get into the topic and the subject of sickness today. Only briefly. A lot of people would say, but Steph, you're challenged. You have brain damage. You have terrible seizures. You can hardly walk. Let's see. Oh, God, they could just name off a whole list of stuff, and they probably have. And I say to them, well, we won't repeat what I'll say to them, but do you think I'm going to let that stop me from making an attempt at a new dream? Heck no. Heck no. Well, I'll tell you what my new dream is. I'm going back to school, online. Now, there was a time when I said I would never ever do that, and I'll tell you why. Because when I went to college, I was so used to driving there, going through the snow, walking to my different buildings, blah, blah, blah. You know, having the instructor right in front of me, misbehaving sometimes, being a little smart aleck at other times. I was. I won't kid about it. I was. Yeah. There are some really funny stories I could tell you about when I was in college. But I'm not here to do that today. I'm here to tell you that I want to return to college. I have decided that there's something I would like to try to do. I bet some of you might be able to guess what that might be if you've been paying attention to what's been happening in my life. Interior design. And that would include outdoor design too. The whole kit and caboodle. I can't speak right. I'm sorry. But it would include everything. And the funny part is that, and this isn't the funny part, this all makes sense. I bought a house, and I had no idea before I moved into it that my yard was full of plants. And I mean plants. Northern plants, middle of the country plants, southern plants, tropical plants, gorgeous plants. And they're all still alive to this day. Now, I've had a little trouble with the front lately, but we had a rough winter last winter, actually. I think some kind of bug came in and ate a lot of our blooms and stuff. I don't know. Down here in the south, a lot of our plants don't go away. They're still here. But a lot do go away. I have some in the back that will definitely be gone. They'll look like they're dead. But they're not. They'll be around. They're still there, and they'll come back. But, so I bought a house that's full of plants outside, just unbelievable. And I have to have people come in and trim them and help me take care of them because that is touchy for me. I can't do it. I just can't. And tomorrow, I know a young man who is going to come over, and we're going to go to a place to buy some plants and some other things, and I am going to put my new design of plants in front of my new building that I have, my brand new building. How about that? I'm kind of excited about it. Of course, I can't do anything, but I'll be directing, and I'm going to pick out the plants because I already know what they're going to be. So does he. But it's still going to be exciting. It's going to be a lot of work, though, for him. And I've had a terrible problem with fire ants. And, I mean, they've been horrible this year, at least in my part of the country. I live in the deep south, and they are definitely a problem. We have tried everything under the sun to get rid of these guys. And normally I would hate to kill any of God's creatures, seriously. I just want them to go somewhere else. And not to any of my beautiful neighbors' houses, but maybe beyond, out in the area where there aren't any houses, because we have a lot of those kind of places. But nope, they want to be close to a house. Go figure. Okay, so anyway, I could do research on these ants, but for right now, I'm not. I just want to get rid of them. I have tried everything under the sun, all the wives' tales that these guys have told me. I've tried them all. Even bought a whole great big bag of grits, gave it to the guys early one morning when they came out to spray insect killer, and they threw the grits all over my yard, and a whole bunch of other bugs were eating them, but I don't know about the ants. Anyway, so dreams. Yes. Does it matter how old we are? That we've lost the ability to have a dream? Does it matter? You know, there was a time when I was working, and I did feel like I was in a horrible rut. Like I wasn't learning anything new. I was doing the same thing over and over and over again. And that is a rut. And guess what? I decided to get a new job. Make a big change in my life. And I did. Well, it helped me in a lot of ways, really. For one thing, my company that I left begged me to come back, and they really did. And so 10 months later, I went back to them. The reason I went back to them, first of all, they finally brought my pay scale up to where it belonged. And they gave me the proper raises and stuff that I deserved to be because of the work I was doing. But I was a woman. Sorry, there's an issue in the field that I was in, and being a woman back then, especially back then. We're talking a lot of years ago. Women didn't do what I did. I had other women that worked in the IT department, yes, but they weren't doing the stuff I was doing. Not any of them. And they definitely didn't want to do it. Of course, me, I felt like it was a great challenge, and I loved it. But then there came a time when I went in a rut. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what my dream was anymore. Okay, so I left, and I thought maybe I was going to find, a bigger, better deal. All right? Well, I did. I traveled all over the country. No thanks. No thanks. I had children at home. They were teenagers. There was no way in God's green earth I could be leaving them. Well, I had to leave my daughter with a family that she could, hitch a ride to school with and everything. And let's put it this way. She ended up marrying the 2-year older boy. Yeah. So, that probably wouldn't have happened anyway, but it did happen. And we don't do the shoulda, woulda, coulda things. I don't do that. I like to do the things happen deal, you know. Some people have put a different word in there. I don't. Okay, so dreams. I have a 20-year-old little friend. I call her little. I think she's bigger than me, but she's still, oh, she's beautiful in every way. She is a beautiful young woman. She's got a beautiful heart, beautiful soul, beautiful thoughts. Just beautiful. She's having kind of a tough time right now. She thought she had her dreams figured out 3 months ago, and some things happened, and I think she's lost her way a bit. Well, you know, when you're 20 years old, I think that happens a lot. I don't think it's unusual. For some reason, maybe it's wisdom. Maybe it's because some of us have already gone through that period and don't want to ever go through it again. And or maybe it's because, like I said, it's wisdom. We've learned a little more. And when we think about a dream, we think about it. I know I have. I don't know if my dream is even going to work. I have no idea. But you know what? I'll never know if I don't try it, right? I'll never know if I don't try it. Now, normally, because I already have the degree before, I already have all the credit hours, I have my transcripts and everything. Oh man, I'm going to have to go through all that. But anyway, because of all that, that's good news. Getting this new diploma should only take me 6 months. Now, being challenged, fortunately, we can work on our own level, our own amount of time, speed. I'm sure it's going to take a little longer for me. This is going to be in a cast in less than a month. Yep. It's going to be messy. And it was supposed to be done this week, but I pushed it off. I'm just not ready for it yet. I feel that God, or my God, my Creator, is going to put somebody in my life, or maybe some people in my life, to help me get through this. Because do you think, this is my right hand, do you think this is going to be easy? It's going to be horribly difficult. I can barely open up a bottle with this hand or this hand at all. No, I'm not married. I like wearing rings. And I don't care what finger I put my rings on, okay? So, the marriage thing ended years ago. That's part of wisdom. At least for me. You know, I was going to talk about that at one point, about, you know, how some people find the right person for themselves, and they stick to it no matter what. They just stick to it. My parents are those people, and believe me, life was not easy. It wasn't, you know, glitter and gold, I can tell you that. It was pretty tough for them and for us kids. But you know what? They're devoted to each other. That I can tell you. My mother is in a home right now because of the Alzheimer's, and my father moved to Chicago so that he's living with one of my sisters so that he could literally, he sees my mother every single day. There is not a day that goes by that my father does not see my mother. Not one day. They are devoted to each other. That, my friends, is love. That is love. I didn't find that kind of love. Not in this life. Maybe I could have if I hadn't been so self-reliant. So, I picked, we won't talk about what I picked, okay? Oh boy. But anyway, back to dreams. I had a dream years ago about going to college. I did it. And it wasn't easy, but I did it. And it was exciting. There were times when it was just so exciting. Learning was exciting to me. The things I learned were nothing compared to the stuff I learned in high school. Nothing. And it was just, well, of course, a lot of it was based on my degree program, but it was fabulous. And I worked for the school. I had 3 different jobs when I was there, and that was really neat. I was a TA for the head of the engineering IT department, and because I made real high grades, and so he wanted, plus especially in that area, I was extremely good. And I worked in the lab, the IT lab, and I worked for the math department. Yep, them too. They fought over me. They tried to beg me to change my degree to math instead of what it was because they felt that I could be a mathematician very easily. Well, my degree, actually I probably have 2 degrees, or if you really look at it, because I have so much math. I went all the way, I think I went almost to the end, so that's a lot of math. Okay, getting back to dreams. You know, when I had my home in the Kansas City area, before my son passed away, I changed my house. I mean, big time. I changed it. I updated it. I made it modern as I could afford to do. And I put some things in that nobody in the neighborhood, none of the rest of the people ever even considered doing. And when I did that, they all came to me and they go, where'd you buy those? Where'd you buy those? And they were everywhere. All you had to do was look for them. But, of course, these were older people. So even though they might know how to use computers, it never occurred to them to get on the computer and do a search for them. But I told them where to get them. And, I made major changes to that place. Major. And I had a list. I made a list of what needed to be changed and what the colors would be and what the tiling would be, the whole 9 yards, before I ever stepped foot in the process. I made that list, and I went in and I checked out the costs on everything, and I made sure that I could swing it. I could really do it. And I did. Okay, so I came down here to Savannah. I'm outside of Savannah. I'm actually in a pretty cool place. It's not quite way out in the country, but it sure is close. And I still have my palm trees everywhere. And, I mean, you can look right outside the window and know, yeah, you're in the South. And I could be in South Carolina in 20 minutes. I'm just as close to South Carolina, Hilton Head, as I am to downtown, well, Tybee Island. I am just as close, probably closer to Hilton Head. It's pretty cool. Okay, so anyway, of course I never go. Alright, now, my new dream. The first part is going to school. Of course it's in pieces. I can't just jump in there and say, okay, I'm going to do it this way and that's my dream. Okay? Alright, I gotta hurry up. Okay, so then there's a second part. Now I'm not going to tell you the second part, not until I get the first part done. But I'll tell you what I am going to do. As I continue in my new dream, I will keep you updated. If I slip back a little bit, so what? So what if I slip back a little bit? It's my dream. Big deal. Sometimes you just gotta take it as it comes, you know? That's what I've learned. And here's the difference. I don't get all freaked out about it. I wish you could have seen me 30 years ago. It was terrible. It was like the end of the world if things didn't work out. Unbelievable. Okay, reading time. I'll bet you didn't think that was gonna happen. Okay, now, hopefully this thing is not at the bottom. Let's find out. Thank you. Okay, now, Chapter 2. Remember? The Beatitudes. The Beatitudes. Alright, now first we're going to read the actual Bible part. Okay? Chapter 2, the Beatitudes. And seeing the multitudes, he went up into a mountain. And when he was set, his disciples came unto him. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. That's Matthew 5. Okay, now we start within it. The Sermon on the Mount opens with the 8 Beatitudes. This, of course, is one of the best-known sections of the Bible. Even people whose knowledge of the Scriptures is confined to half a dozen of the most familiar chapters are sure to know the Beatitudes. They hardly ever understand them, unfortunately, and as a rule look upon them as a counsel of perfection without any real application to everyday life. But this is only because they lack the spiritual key. Remember, he's real big on that. We'll be talking about that a lot. The Beatitudes are actually a prose poem in 8 verses, which is complete in itself, and it constitutes what is practically a general summary of the whole Christian teaching. It is a spiritual more than a literary synopsis, summarizing the spirit of the teaching rather than the letter. A general summing up such as this is highly characteristic of the old Oriental mode of approach to a religious and philosophical teaching, and it naturally recalls the 8-fold path of Buddhism, the 10 Commandments of Moses, and other such compact groupings of ideas. Interesting, isn't it? Jesus concerned himself exclusively with the teaching of general principles, and these general principles always had to do with mental states, for he knew that if one's mental states are right, everything else must be right too. Whereas, if these are wrong, nothing else can be right. Make sense? Unlike the other great religious teachers, he gives us no detailed instructions about what we are to do or are not to do. He does not tell us either to eat or to drink, or to refrain from eating or drinking certain things, or to carry out various ritual observances at certain times and seasons. Indeed, the whole current of his teaching is anti-ritualistic and anti-formalist. Get the message? Yeah, it is, isn't it? Okay. So, he had little patience at any time with the Jewish priesthood and its theory of salvation through the temple observances. Remember that? Come on. Surely you remember all that. Okay? I mean, they put him on the cross. Okay, so the hour cometh when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. The hour cometh, and now is when the true worshipper shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship him. God is spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. And yes, I get a little heavy duty on that. You betcha. You betcha. This explains everything in regard to the Beatitudes. The Pharisees, with their appalling code of outward detail observances, were the only people towards whom he was really intolerant. A conscientious Pharisee of those days, and most of them were extremely conscientious, according to their lights, had an enormous number of outer details to attend to every day before he could feel that he had satisfied the requirements of God. A modern rabbi has estimated the number of such details at not less than 600. Wow. And as it is obvious that no human being could really carry out this sort of thing in practice, the natural result would be that the victim, conscious of falling far short of the accomplishment of his duties, must necessarily labor under a chronic sense of sin. Now, to believe yourself to be sinful is, for practical purposes, to be sinful with all the consequences that follow upon that condition. We're going to talk about that in a minute. The policy of Jesus contrasts with this in that his object is rather to wean the heart from relying upon outer things at all, either for pleasurable gratitude or for spiritual salvation, and to a word I'm going to have trouble with, inculcate a new attitude of mind altogether, and this policy is graphically set forth in the Beatitudes. You know what? I had a spiritual advisor tell me one time that the acronym for sin was self-imposed nonsense. Okay, don't freak out. I'm serious. That's what she told me. She said, Steph, come on. You know, when you sit around and think about sin and the things that you're sinning about, you're beating yourself up constantly. She was right. So guess what? I never think about sin anymore. Not ever. And I don't think my Creator does either, not in that respect. Okay? And if I have done anything that I regret or I think I've done wrong, I make amends. That's what I do. Okay, one last piece and then I'm going to finish. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Here in the very beginning, we have to take into account a point of great practical importance in the study or the Bible, namely, that is written in a peculiar idiom of its own, and that terms and expressions and sometimes actual words are used in the Bible in a sense that is distinctly different from that of everyday usage. This is quite apart from the fact, for which we have also to be on the lookout, that certain English words have changed in meaning since the Bible was translated. It means, are you paying attention now? It means that the meaning of the Bible may not be what we think it is. It may not mean what we think it does. Because the translation may not be correct. There is that possibility, and it's been on TV. People are admitting it now. Okay, the Bible is really a textbook of metaphysics. Gee shucks, ruckaroo. I took metaphysics. Hallelujah. Okay, a manual for the growth of the soul. And it's something I have to work on every single day of my life. Yeah. And it looks at all questions from this point of view. It is impossible to emphasize this point too much. For this reason, it takes the broadest view of every subject. It sees all things in their relationship to the human soul. And it uses many common terms in a far wider sense than that given to them by common use. For example, the word bread in the Bible means not merely any kind of physical food, which is the broadest interpretation that is put upon it in general literature, but all things that man requires. Everything. All physical things, such as clothing, shelter, money, education, companionship, and so forth. And above all, it stands for spiritual things, such as spiritual perception, spiritual understanding, and preeminently spiritual realization. Give us this day our daily bread. I am the bread of life. Unless ye eat this bread. Another example is the word prosperity. In the scriptural sense, prosperity and prosper signify a very great deal more than the acquirement of material possessions. They really mean success in prayer. Okay, we're going to stop there. All right, that's cool. Pretty cool, isn't it? Now, are you getting the idea of what Emmett's going to be doing here? He is literally going to break down all of the Beatitudes for us. He is going to explain them to us. Come on, don't tell me that you already know it and you don't need some help with it. Don't give me that crap. Because I used to be a know-it-all, so I know it. Hey, I'm sitting in my room. I'm on the swivel chair. Oh, it's wonderful. Oh, I love it. Oh, I could swivel right now. Okay, now look up here. The fan is running. Notice the difference in the paint colors. Oh, yeah. Steph did a wonderful job of... God, now let me get my swivel going. All right, okay, let's do the swivel. The swivel, swivel, swivel. Okay, but anyway, I was just playing. I'm sorry. I love you. Come back. I'm going to be a lot more often right now. This is why. It's going to be a number. I love you. See you in a bit.